All right, so today we're talking about why ovulation can be delayed, late, missing. More often than not, though, we're talking about being delayed because completely missing, I feel like we can dive a little bit deeper in that in another episode because there's a lot more things that can be involved in that. But what I want to talk about is like late ovulation. So that's when you typically ovulate between days like 13 and 16, maybe for you, and you're on day 30 of your cycle and you just go, I still haven't ovulated. Okay. That's what I want to talk about today. So that's what happened to my ovulation. So grab a beverage, check your step count, any and all of the above. I don't know. Do you guys walk when you listen to the episodes? Do you sit and drink coffee? I'm drinking coffee right now. Or do you listen while you're driving in the car? I would love to actually know. Let's go back to the days of giving you guys homework and you tell me where you listen to on the car. But I actually have a surprise for you. Okay, so are you ready? I have decided that we are gonna come back to some giveaways, but it's going to be a cool giveaway. So every single month, we're going to do a drawing. So at the end of the month, we're going to do a drawing and we're going to draw a winner to receive a hair tissue mineral analysis test with the whole protocol analysis, like all the goods. So this is a pretty big deal. We don't run these for anyone who's not clients. But pricing for that is $500 for an HTMA. So you're winning some schmuckaroos. Anyways, the HTMA is just going to give you so many valuable insights. So this is how you win. Okay, one, you can go to Apple Podcasts, go to Balancing Hormones Naturally, leave us a review, like a typed review, like, I love the podcast because blah, 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 blah. If you don't love the podcast, don't leave a review. So leave a review. If you have already left a review and you still want to be entered, this is what you have to do. I am giving you a couple hoops to jump through because this is a really big giveaway. If we're going to do this every month, got to stay on top of this. So write a review. If you've already written a review and you still want to be entered, you can take a screenshot of like the podcast episode or when you're listening to an episode that you love. And I want you to share it to your social media and tag us. So you can tag Balancing Hormones Naturally in my personal Instagram, which is Leah_BRUEG. And share why you like it. You still don't just like share the episode. I want you to share, I love this podcast because blank, and then tell us, okay? Because you know how many women need this information? A lot of women need this information. I wish I had this information growing up. And if you have found it and you have found it valuable, share it. Share it. Share our mission with those around you because this podcast alone, not my programs, not even coaching with me, this podcast alone has helped thousands of women. I get DMs from women saying, I implemented things from your podcast and I am pregnant now after never being able to conceive. I was able to get rid of XYZ symptoms. I have more energy. Share this podcast because it has changed so many women's lives and you don't know who in your friends group desperately is praying for this right now. So share the podcast, be that gift to them. And I will also reward you by entering you into a giveaway to win an HTMA. So we'll always announce the winner on here, but we'll also send them an email. So if you have your social media on private, you do need to make sure that you send me a DM, like being like, hey, I shared your story, looks like this. Or you can send me an email at leahbcoaching@gmail.com and just do giveaway entry and you can send us a screenshot of it or whatever. But if you are on private, I won't see it. So even if you tag me, I won't see it. So just make sure that you do that so you can get entered and do an HTMA. And you guys know how much we love HTMA and it is super valuable as well for this episode. So I won't go as in-depth every episode explaining what's in the giveaway, but I will remind you every week to enter the giveaway because this is a whopping amazing giveaway. So cheers to us. Okay. Anyways, let's hit the bucket. So what is ovulation? Why should we talk about it being delayed? What does it mean to us? So ovulation is historically, statistically, we're told it happens on day 14 of your cycle. And that's not necessarily true. That's an average. Okay. So some women will ovulate on day 12, day 13, day 14, day 16, day 17. It just depends for you. So your cycle within period to period, 26 to 36 days is totally normal, totally good, totally okay. Now, the reason why there is a big range there is because of how long that follicular phase is. So if you have a short follicular phase, you're someone that ovulates on day like 12 or 13, you're going to be on the shorter end of that cycle. If you're someone that ovulates on day 17, 18, you're going to be on the longer end of that cycle. Now, the reason why is ovulation to period, which you guys know this, ovulation to period should be between 12 to 14 days. It should always be that long to know we have enough progesterone to have a luteal phase deficiency, etc. So what really determines the length of that cycle is that follicular phase, how long it is. So when you ovulate is important because if you are ovulating way later than cycle day 21, you are definitely in the category of irregular ovulation, and we need to figure out why that is. And you may go, oh, well, it's not a big deal. I don't care if I ovulate late. Yes, we do, because fertility is a sign of our health, right? And if we have irregular cycles, if we have irregular ovulations, this is obviously giving us a yellow flag, and it's going to turn into a red flag when it comes to our health, okay? Because of the things that impact the ovulation. Think about it as your report card, okay? It's basically telling you, how is my health? It's not like we can turn a camera into our intestines and be like, what you looking like in there, right? So symptoms are our report card. Symptoms are how we tell what is going on. And delayed ovulation is something that is insightful for us. When I was still in the throes of my health journey, stress was one of the biggest things that impacted my ovulation. It would just completely shut it down for weeks. And it would be one of those things where I would go, oh, I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed, because I'm a very high functioning stress person. And then my ovulation would be gone. And I go, oh, okay, guess I'm stressed. The other thing that really impacted my ovulation was dairy. If I would consume dairy, my ovulation would just go gone. And that was just because of the inflammatory reaction that I had to dairy. It causes stress internally on my body due to the inflammation. Don't have that issue anymore, thanks heavens, but your healing journey is not always a straight path. It can be a little bit of a windy road. And when I was able to heal all of these things and stay on top of my stress management, my ovulation comes like clockwork, which is how we like it, right? Okay, so what actually is ovulation? So you have your ovulatory window, so which typically when you start creating cervical mucus to when you release that egg, right? You should be creating cervical mucus anywhere from 2 to 7 days prior to ovulation. Again, going to be different for everybody here. Now, if you are creating inexcusably amounts of cervical mucus, like a ton, or way longer than 7 days, that can be a sign of a thyroid issue. So again, remember, these flags are talking to us. If you are not creating any cervical mucus, this can be low vitamin A deficiency. It could be lack of hydration. It could be low estrogen. So again, communication, we're learning here, right? If you have no ovulation whatsoever, obviously you're not going to be creating cervical mucus. So if you aren't ovulating, I wouldn't go right down the road of like, oh, why am I not creating cervical mucus? You have to figure out why you aren't ovulating. Now, something I want to talk about. Ovulation brings your period. Okay, so when you ovulate, that follicle that releases the egg forms what's called the corpus luteum, which is producing your progesterone. Okay, when that progesterone drops and all the hormones drop, that's what triggers your period to come. Okay, so if we have no ovulation, we have no period. You can have what's called a withdrawal bleed, which can look very similar to a period, which is why we need to track ovulation. Okay, I'm not going to go over tracking ovulation in this episode. If you want to do that, go listen to the episode that we have on tracking your cycle. We'll also make sure to link it. It's one of our first episodes that came out. So this is why ovulation is so important, because it's what brings your period. It's what brings your period. And so when I have women that go, can I get pregnant without a period or without a cycle? The answer is no. But then there's women that come in and go, yeah, I got pregnant and I never got a period. So obviously you can get pregnant without a cycle. The answer is still no. You have to ovulate. What happens is ovulation happens before that first period. It's what brings the period. So if you get pregnant on that first ovulation, you never see that first period. Does that make sense? This is like very important, I think, for my PCOS ladies and my postpartum ladies to just sit with that for a second, because you truly need a cycle. You can't get pregnant without ovulation. It's impossible. You also aren't ovulating 5, 6, 7 times throughout your cycle. I literally had someone tell me one time, she goes, I'm hyperfertile. I was like, okay, what does that mean to you? And she goes, no matter when I have sex in my cycle, I get pregnant. I'm like, okay, that is not what hyperfertile means, because she thought she was ovulating just multiple times throughout her cycle. And I was like, that is not the case. We don't. We ovulate once. We ovulate once. You can release a second egg within that 24-hour window of releasing the first egg. That is possible. That can happen. But what happens is then the follicle that releases the corpus luteum produces progesterone, suppresses any other ovulations. Okay, so once you ovulate, you're moving on. Okay, not going to happen again. But it is very possible if you're like, okay, I'm starting to create cervical mucus, you think ovulation's coming, we're going, and then your body's like, no, never mind, we're not doing that. That can happen. That can happen. But a true, actually ovulating, releasing the egg, forming the corpus luteum, producing the progesterone, that happens once in your cycle, not 5 times. Okay. So if you think you're hyperfertile because you get pregnant really, really easily, it's not because you are ovulating multiple times throughout your cycle. Whew, that was a very long-winded, but that is like my personal, like, that is the rock I will stand on, the hill I will stand on, because I hear so much misinformation around that. And it's so important for us to actually understand what's going on. Okay. Now, another reason outside of like fertility that we're thinking about in terms of ovulation is ovulation is how we produce progesterone, which is our keep calm, carry on hormone. And so many women have so many symptoms related to low progesterone, which is why we need to focus on regular ovulation, strong ovulation, good egg quality. Okay. So you guys all with me on this? Cool beans. So let's go into some common reasons why ovulation can be late. Number 1 is going to be stress. Okay. Hands down, it's going to be stress. I know we talk about stress all the time, but remember, stress doesn't have to be emotional stress. It can be, but it can also be internal stress, like heavy metals, parasites, inflammation, food sensitivities. Okay. We really want to think about the impact of stress on our hormonal communication. Remember how hormones are constantly communicating with each other? They're little chemical messengers. And when we are very, very stressed and we're impacting cortisol, and then we're impacting the whole conversation with all of our hormones, because cortisol is disrupting the balance in those reproductive hormones, therefore ovulation can get delayed. Okay. So this is definitely very common if you're like very stressed with work, if you start new workout program that maybe involves a lot of HIIT, if you're traveling, if you get sick, all of these things will be something that you can see delay ovulation and be like, oh wow, like delayed it by like 1, 2, 3 weeks, depending on that. Okay. So I know I sound like a broken record, you guys, but stress and supporting stress for overall hormone imbalance is a foundation. It's not something that you can skip over. It's not something you can out supplement. You can't just dump ashwagandha and sleep in ashwagandha and lavender. You have to put forth effort to unload your stress bucket. This is something we stress so much in the hormone reset program, is how much we need to become resilient against stress. And we become resilient by regulating our nervous system, unloading our stress bucket every day so our fuses don't blow. And we work on this every day with all of our ladies in the Hormone Reset program. It makes such a difference. Okay. Diet and nutrition. Okay. Nutrition, obviously, I feel like, plays such a big role in hormone regulation. But I want to specifically talk about the nutrient deficiencies that can play a part in ovulation. Magnesium, of course. What does magnesium not impact? Like, it impacts everything. B vitamins are very important as well, for methylation. And then also things that support egg quality. So zinc would be a really big one. And zinc rich foods you're going to find in beef liver, oyster, sardines, beef, all great ones. And then on top of that, zinc and selenium support the thyroid. And the thyroid is actually something that can really impact ovulation as well. But we're going to dive a little bit more into that when we get to the thyroid section. So making sure you're getting nutrient dense foods. The lack of minerals, I think, is really important here. And this is where testing, I know, here we go with testing again, but testing can be really, really important here, because we'll see women, for example, who have irregular ovulations or no ovulations, and we'll run their labs and they have no minerals. Like, everything is tanked. Everything is very, very low. And that is something that is important to figure out and bring up. And then, of course, we have to ask the question, why are all your minerals low, right? We can't just out supplement those without asking the question of why it got here in the first place. But that is important to know. And then obviously, if we are spiking our blood sugar, eating a lot of foods that are very high in sugar, this is going to impact our insulin resistance. And then insulin resistance can shut down ovulation. Okay. Which brings us right into PCOS. Okay. So polycystic ovarian syndrome. If you have PCOS, I feel like you probably at this point maybe know you have PCOS, and that is what is linked to your irregular or missing ovulations. Okay. But this is very tied to insulin resistance or excess androgens. You can have insulin resistance without having PCOS. Okay. That's important to know. Okay. But if we do have PCOS, and you have insulin resistance, you have elevated testosterone or androgens, what happens is every time you spike your blood sugar, it causes your ovaries to produce more testosterone, which shuts down ovulation. Okay. Obviously, we need ovulation for so many reasons, right? But this is a very fine line for you of bringing down the androgens and supporting the testosterone, supporting the stress. You can also have adrenal PCOS, which is more, you have high DHEA, much higher cortisol, and that is going to be much more on the stress side than the blood sugar side. But both of these are very, very interlaced. So it is so important that we are balancing our blood sugar, because it obviously is impacting ovulation. It obviously is impacting the production of testosterone when you're dealing with PCOS. So important that we're paying attention to this whole picture. You guys, I talk about blood sugar so much because it is so important for how it impacts the different functions in your body. Okay. That brings us right to the thyroid. Okay. The thyroid, obviously, we need a strong thyroid hormone, strong, amazing working thyroid to support ovulation. Okay. So both hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism can delay ovulation. I'm so out of breath. So I have to just tell you something so this makes sense. Okay. We're all organized here with notes now, but I still have to tell you because this is funny. Riverside, which is the place that we record all of the podcasts, used to never have a pause button. You would just have to record straight through. And now it has a pause button. And so my youngest, Roman, woke up from his nap. So I had to pause it, go get him, feed him, take him outside to where the babysitter is so she could hold him, and then run back up the stairs. And I sat down and I just hit play, and now I'm out of breath. And like, you probably think no time passed. And so you're like, wow, she gets out of breath from talking. No, I just ran up the steps, down the steps and up the steps. Or no, just up the steps because I was carrying the baby on the way down. Okay. Anyway, so now we all know why Leah's out of breath. Anyways, so that's why with the thyroid, it's so important that we are getting those nutrients in that support the thyroid, like I talked about earlier already, like the selenium, the zinc, the B vitamins. But on top of that, with thyroid, one of the biggest things that impacts thyroid as well is stress. That will impact your thyroid 100%. And then also things that you think about, or things that are related to thyroid that we don't think about, would be liver and gut support. Okay. Because that is where the conversion of T4 to T3 happens. And if we have a lot of food sensitivities, a lot of gut issues, we have a sluggish thyroid, we aren't giving the liver, a sluggish liver, we don't have the liver doing what it needs to do, obviously that's going to impact our thyroid. Which something that I think is really important to note here is that birth control impacts our gut's microbiome, and it also depletes you of a lot of necessary vitamins and minerals, which you need for thyroid conversion of T4 to T3. So this is again why after birth control, sometimes you see a lot of thyroid issues start creeping up. Okay. All right. Over exercising, under eating are another two really big ones. Okay. And by exercising, I don't mean like, oh, I start doing 30 minutes a day. That's got to be why I am not ovulating. No, I'm talking about like all of a sudden you started doing excessive HIIT. You started doing, I don't know, CrossFit for like an hour every single day, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Yeah, those could be things that would really impact the ovulation. If you're not eating enough food, you went to an extreme caloric deficit, aka hopping on and off fad diets. Your body goes, yeah, we must be entering a famine. We don't need ovulation for famine. We just need to survive. Okay. So definitely things to kind of think about. Okay. So really what we need to be doing to support ovulation is figure out which category do you fit into. Okay. So if you're like, okay, my ovulation always disappears when I travel. It always disappears when I get sick. It disappears when like there's a lot of things going on or it gets delayed. Okay. Maybe that's me. If you're someone that goes, yeah, I kind of am jumping on and off diets all the time. I'm constantly trying to lose weight. Maybe we're dealing with some insulin resistance. Maybe we're dealing with not enough nutrition, lack of vitamins is where testing can be your game changer. And that may be the one impacting your ovulation. Okay. I know I talk about this a lot, but you guys, we run testing for you in the hormone reset program. We literally take you by the hand and guide you through this. So you're not going, is that me? Is this me? How do I do this? We tell you. You literally get a map and you get to go step by step through and have an accountability coach that literally is guiding you every step of the way. So you don't have to think about it. You just have to implement and trust the process because you know it's going to work because it's worked for hundreds of women as long as you follow the process. Okay. So if that's you and you want to do that, go to bit.ly/HRP free call, book your free consult call. You're going to be talking with Alexis, who's one of my past clients. She's also a functional practitioner herself. And we'll see if this is a good fit for you. Okay. And then number 3, we talked about balancing exercise and nutrition. So exercising is really important for insulin resistance. It's really important for your mental health. It's really important for longevity. It's really important for muscle and bone health. So please work out. I'm not saying don't work out. I'm just saying don't start doing CrossFit every day if you've never done CrossFit before. I'm sorry, I keep like banging on CrossFit. Let's talk about something let's pick on a different sport. Running, like let's say you just took up running every single day. That would be a big stress on the body. You have to acclimate your body. You have to practice. You have to warm up. You have to do all of these things, right? So pay attention. If you are feeling very fatigued from your exercises, maybe that's a red flag for you. Maybe you need to slow it down, but that doesn't mean you stop. Okay. At least get out and walk. Walk. Walking 3 times a week for 30 minutes increases your sensitivity to insulin. Walk. Get out and walk. Something I talked about on Instagram the other day, on a reel. It's so easy to do. It's just doing like 25 squats every time you pee. You're going to be peeing 5 to 6 times a day. So that's like 125 squats. It's not like it is 125 squats. That's a lot of squats. Okay. So don't come up with excuses of why you can't exercise. Come up with a way. If you go, I could never do that many squats, start with 5. Okay. It is so easy in our mind to go, I can't do that, so I'm going to do nothing. Don't be that person. I know you're not that person because you listen to this podcast, so you actually want to make a change. So this is my encouragement handing to you. This is me giving you permission to slip. Let's make a change. If you can't do it all, let's start with something. Let's start with something. If you're someone that deals with extreme fatigue, maybe it's going to be just a walk outside in some sunshine to get some energy that way. Okay. And then let's figure out underlying conditions that may be impacting it. So, is it a thyroid issue? Is it severe nutrient deficiency that we need to do testing for? Is it PCOS that we need to work to support? But those are the categories that are going to delay ovulation. And remember, ovulation is what brings your period. Okay. If you want to track ovulation, which you should be doing, we'll link that episode, but you can also just go way back. It's one of our first episodes, how to track your cycle. And just know that there's many reasons that can impact ovulation, but ovulation is what impacts progesterone, which obviously we know all of the symptoms that come along with low progesterone. Okay. Ovulation is an indicator of our health. So if it's not there, there's things that are off. Okay. So I know that we just did a whole episode on balancing hormones with PCOS. So if you're like, that's why my ovulation is off, is because of that, please go back and listen to that episode. All right. If you found this valuable, which I really, truly hope you did, please share it with a friend because you never know who may need it. Just share it on your social media. All right. Thank y'all.